Hello and welcome to the big picture. The expected signing of the deal to buy 36 Rafale fighter jets from its French manufacturer Dassault Aviation has been delayed, with India and France only signing a MOU today. The MOU signed in the presence of the French President and the Indian Prime Minister today is an intergovernmental agreement which could not be finalized as the two countries are yet to reach a deal on financial issues. It may be recalled that the decision to abandon the negotiations for purchase of 126 medium multi-role combat aircraft fighters was taken when Prime Minister Modi was in France last April. Instead, it was decided to buy 36 Rafale fighter jets in flyaway condition. However, the negotiations over the last 9 months have still not been able to seal the deal. Now that the MOU has been signed, when can we expect the final deal to be signed, and what are the hitches as far as financial issues are concerned? Now that all the 36 Rafale jets will be made in France and delivered, what about the Make in India component which the UPA government was negotiating as part of the 126 fighters deal? To what extent will these 36 fighter jets be able to fulfill the needs of the Indian Air Force? We will discuss all this and more today with Air Vice Marshal Retd Kapil of the Center for Air Power Studies, P. Stobdan, former Ambassador and Senior Fellow, Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis, Mohan, Guruswamy, Defence Analyst, and Ajay, Banerjee, Defence Correspondent, the Tribune. Welcome to all of you. Air Marshal Kak, what does this mean what does this MOU mean?
Actually, it's not even an intergovernmental agreement. So it's a question of a language tweaking to make it appear that the deal is moving forward, and to associate this with the visit of President Hollande to India, which was expected. It was expected an IGA will be signed. But I think...
so you're saying this is not an intergovernmental agreement?
This is a memorandum.
Yes.
This is an understanding. Agreement is an agreement. It doesn't need any more explanation than that. So we could have done this MOU in April when Prime Minister Modi was there. No one would have been the wiser. The nub of the issue is the commercial contract. Now, the government of India, in its wisdom, rightly said we must do both together, because signing an MOU, or for that matter, even an intergovernmental agreement in isolation, actually weakens your negotiating position. Because once you are committed to an agreement to buy, then it's a question of price and offset and everything.
Which is what has happened now.
Which is what has happened. It's actually, Mr. Modi has ensured that India's position is weakened and not strengthened by this kind of a step that has been taken. Far more critically, as you rightly said, the Indian Air Force, as I lightheartedly say, we need to establish in India a society for prevention of cruelty to the Indian Air Force. Because no acquisition is moving. Indian Air Force is now today down to 34 squadrons. It will lose 14 squadrons in the next 7 to 8 years, and I don't see anything coming in the next 7 to 8 years.
You are saying 34. You're saying 34 squadrons. What is the total? Which is about 45?
Sanction 45, then reduced sanction. Somebody is talking about 42, 43. But you know where you are. And as I said, Girish, it's really grim situation, because in 7 years, if you don't do something in an emergency basis, you are then an equivalent of the Pakistan Air Force. So where is this two-front strategy, and we will have a collusive challenge from India? I suppose the chief has said it, Air Chief has said it over the last 3 or 4 occasions. 8th October is an occasion when he always speaks. He has said it so often. Recently, he has also made a statement, I need an aircraft of the like of MMRCA, which I defined as Rafale. You give me whatever you have. You have political decisions, you have financial considerations, without which my ability to take on the kind of challenges I see ahead is hugely reduced.
Okay. Mr. Stobdan, how do you look at this? Is this, why is it, do you agree with the Air Marshal that nothing has moved significantly from April last year?
Yeah, but yes, I would tend to agree with Marshal Kak Yeah, but I think the Rafale issue is not about filling up the gaps in the Air Force capabilities. I think there are a lot of other issues that we are talking with the Russians and other things to fill up the gaps. I think this Rafale issue is, I think, more of a futuristic aspect of our, Air Force, to which I think currently we are only buying 36. And the rest is the future, the manufacturing, the localization of manufacturing part. To me, I think the only hitch is on the commercial aspect, not the offset or the servicing or manufacturing of this technology. I think this is where I think people seem to be having some problem and unable to move ahead with the deal.
So you're talking about the commercial, it's just the commercial aspect. Would you agree with it, Mohan?
It is a commercial deal.
It's a
So if there's a commercial aspect, that means there's no deal.
So what
can't
has,
agree on the price.
What has happened in the last 9 months?
Nothing has happened because the gap between what we can pay and what we think we should pay for that aircraft and what the French want is huge. They are unable to narrow it. It's a very expensive aircraft. It will be very difficult for the government to stand up in Parliament and in front of the people and justify the cost of 4 times that of a Su-30 or 8 or 9 times that of a Tejas when it becomes operational. It becomes very extremely difficult. And and then also you're competing
Tejas is being indigenously manufactured.
And its assembly lines are beginning to roll now. But it's not just requirement of the Air Force. There are requirements of the Navy. There are requirements of the Army. The Army hasn't still got its 155 gun as yet. It hasn't got enough tanks. Hasn't got enough mechanized armor. The Navy doesn't have enough submarines. There's only one aircraft carrier limping along. And then, if you want to operate one aircraft carrier, you actually need 3, because one will always be in docks. So everybody is short. Now you've got to sit and decide what you want these systems for, who gets priority, how, etc., etc. So I think that the government has failed to do so, has failed to gather an understanding of what our security requirements are, what our future threats are, why we need what and who needs what. And so, this has become a thing of equipment. Pakistanis have so many, I must have so many, Chinese have so many, I must have so many. We have to sit and say why. And that has not been done as yet, because the Raksha Mantri is
You mean
supposed
to say this assessment has not been done?
has not been done for a long time. It's not just this government. The Raksha Mantri's directive to the services has not been issued for 15, 20 years.
Air Marshal, would you agree with that?
No, 2 parts. I mean, Mohan has made 2 very, very critical points. I mean, the whole game is about looking ahead. What are your challenges?
What Ambassador Stobdan is also talking about.
Ambassador Stobdan is talking about something else. This is about looking at your long-term challenges.
A long-term perspective.
How do you meet those challenges? What do you need to do in terms of establishing the hardware and software for it? And then how do you, whether it's indigenously done or do you need imports? That picture is not done. India has never produced a meaningful strategic defense review. In the UK, it's done periodically. In the US, it's almost compulsory. Every year, the president, as per the constitution.
Why has it not happened?
I mean, this is. I cannot answer this.
But where does the problem lie?
See, because we are a chalta hai nation.
Services are not even a part of the defense ministry. They're a department. The defense ministry is manned by bureaucrats who make the policy. And without any inputs.
Absolutely.
So without military inputs, you're going to make policy. The politician is
Girish,
totally oblivious of all
this. It's been 5 years since you've had a report given by a former cabinet secretary to say what you need to do by way of higher defense reform. A former cabinet secretary. That is lying with the government of India for the last nearly 5 years. Nothing has moved. It is a workable document, acceptable to all the 3 chiefs. Instead of a chief of defense staff, there will be a chairman chiefs of staff committee. Structures have been defined. There will be an independent aerospace command. We haven't seen anything in 5 years. There will be an independent cyber command. We haven't seen anything like that. There will be a special forces command. a la Pathankot, everyone talked about special force. So what I'm saying is it is sheer lack of pace and direction
And
in
application
moving
of mind.
forward.
You know, the CDS proposal has been pending for 15 years.
Yes, we
It's
have been
been
hearing
approved
about
by the
this.
cabinet, you know, and they can't get it through. And, you know, this government had it in its manifesto saying they're going to do it. The Bajpayee government had it in its manifesto, but they haven't done it. This is unfathomable. Why they can't settle on small things here.
Okay, Ajay, you know, but now this deal has been stuck because of the commercial aspect of it. So, are all other things settled? Weapon system, what kind of weapon system, what kind of maintenance package, all that has been, you think has been settled?
See, this deal was not going anywhere. It was known for long. The cost of the Rafale is so huge when compared to the Sukhoi.
No, that is why we thought that, you know, the original 126 fighter deal was brought down to 36. Even
Still,
36 is not going anywhere.
36, the cost is so huge. There are figures floating around which given to us as reporters in the beat. Around 750 crores a piece without the arsenal and without the training. So you can add another 200-300 crores per piece for that. And that comes to around 1,000 crores, 1,100 crores per piece. Can a country like India afford that? This deal was not happening at those rates. Let us be very clear. And we have to have a plan B, as Marshal Kak has pointed out. We have to have a plan B now. Tejas, I reckon, is part of the plan B, and we should be focusing on the plan B. The air chief has made it very clear that my fleet is on its last legs.
And
Is it possible to have a plan B now? Because, you know, today, if you read the joint statement issued today, you know, they're talking of this deal, which is almost, they're saying that it is almost through. It is just that a few financial issues have to be sorted out.
Yeah, the financial issues have to be sorted out. At 1,100, 1,200 crores a piece, the call has to be taken at the highest political level.
If you read the joint statement, it looks as if it's just one of those things which will be done in a few days. That's what the French president says.
Yeah, there are issues with cost, and that's a reality.
And can it be done in a few days?
I don't think
Can
so.
it be sorted out in a few days?
I doubt, unless we take a decision that we are ready to pay that much of cost.
No, I think we are. There is a slight mix-up. Firstly, Ajay misquoted me. I didn't say we should go for a plan B. My views are well known.
No, he's saying it himself. He's not putting you.
No, but he says, as Marshal Kak was saying, the question is India has no alternative to having an MMRCA aircraft.
And
now you can define
MMRCA is Rafale now. Now that it is, it has been 7-8 years since this
successive. It's not one.
You can't now start afresh and look for something else.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head, Girish. From 2000 onwards, 2000. It's 16 years. There are at least 5 chiefs who have changed, and each one has endorsed the requirement for a MMRCA. Now, these are specialists, airpass specialists, flown from the day one, from 17-year-old kids till they reach 62 years of age. So, to question whether you should have an MMRCA or you should not have an MMRCA, I think that stage is gone. Question of cost is known. I mean, this cost is known to us from 2007 onwards. You can go a few crores up or a few crores down. Question is that offsets was something we insisted on, and this is where the misunderstanding that was made in respect of Make in India. There is no Make in India on this aircraft. This aircraft will come as it is made in France.
Now, 36.
Where the Make in India, yes, right.
Because when the original 126 the deal was being thought of or being discussed, many of it was supposed to be made in India.
Exactly. 108 was supposed to be made in India, and 18 was supposed to come in flyaway condition. Now, when Prime Minister went to France in April last year, it was decided virtually on the spur of the moment that we need the aircraft. Indian Air Force desperately short of these type of aircraft. So 36 was agreed upon instantly, with the fact that there will be 2 separate committees which will be set up to look at the details of what would be the weapons, avionics, fitments, changes required, and secondly and more importantly, what would be the cost. Now, 2 things, as you said, the hitches that you said need to be identified. Hitch number 1 was offsets. Now, the French have all along taken the stance that on intergovernmental agreements, offsets should not apply, which is not factually right. Offsets applied even when we bought the C-130s from the US, which was on an intergovernmental arrangement. So, there the French are wrong.
Now, you please explain what is this offset.
Offsets means that, good, I'm glad the viewers would wish to know this. Offsets means that we are buying so much defense equipment, we must leverage the buying power of India to ensure that we are able to acquire technology, know how, and know why. Not so much know how as know why. Because that's where the concept comes in. That's where you learn the design.
And that's where it can be indigenously manufactured.
Exactly. So the components, in this one, what would happen is some components will be made, some subsystems will be made. For this, it required the Prime Minister to speak to President Hollande some time ago. And thereafter, the NSA went to Paris, and the issue of offsets was resolved, that in this case, as per the original MMRCA, the offsets were supposed to be 50% of the value of the contract.
Right.
That means that much amount. This is where the costs don't add up so much, because that cost is coming back to you indirectly because you're gathering capability indigenously. So 50% of the value of the contract would be actually invested by DASO in India through arrangements with Indian vendors, private sector, public sector, so that some of the money gets plowed back to us in terms of developing India's capability. This is in short what offsets means. Now, in this case, the offset was made as 50% compared to 30%, which is all other categories. Here, there was a lot of problem. So, finally, the French have agreed not only for offsets, but also that offsets will apply only to 30%. There is an agreement on this now. This required the NSA to go there and actually convince
so
them.
that
But
aspect
now the unit price is still lurking as an issue.
Yes, Mohan.
You see, it's not as if we didn't make planes in this country before. We have an assembly line on for Jaguars. We have an assembly line for Sukhoi 30. We have assembly line for Hawks. We have had assembly lines for MiG-27. We've had lots of assembly lines. We assemble these planes. We even make the engines here. We do all kinds of things. You still can't say that after all these years that I need some more technology. What is the technology you absorbed now, all these years? So this is to be looked into.
What do you mean?
You can't keep on saying, I want state of art. Now, the Tejas is there. The Navy has placed an order for 44 Tejas for the carrier-based aircraft. Air Force hasn't placed any orders.
So that's wrong.
But the point is,
I think
let me finish.
Placed an order for 40 aircraft. It's already been done.
No, they haven't done it because the Navy wanted a certain variant. They wanted changes in design. ADA worked with the Navy test to
what is the point?
The point is that the Air Force is insistent on state of the art.
Why should it not be insistent?
You can't afford it because even the Chinese Air Force, which is 5 times bigger than yours, does not have as many 4+ generation aircraft as we do.
Marshal, would you like to respond to that?
No. I mean, this is there are.
No, I mean, if you want state of the art, why not?
No, it's not a question. You don't decide the state of art because you get up on the right side of the bed in the morning and say state of the art. You decide state of the art of what the state of the art with your adversary is, whether it's China, whether it's Pakistan,
so look at
and
what
how collusive. No, let me finish. You made your point. Let me speak and don't intervene.
Please continue.
Don't intervene. So the question now is, firstly, Indian Air Force is committed and signed for 20 Tejas aircraft. To correct Mohan, we don't want the viewers to get wrong information. 20 LCA Mark 1. Indian Air Force is committed for. They have already got 1 aircraft which they are operating from Bangalore. These 20 aircraft will come. Air Force has also spelled out 57 deficiencies on the Tejas, of which about 43 the HAL is committed to make. So therefore, a follow-on will be with the improved variants of the Tejas. The Air Force is fully committed to the Tejas. Therefore, to say, no, Navy is committed, Air Force is not, is completely patently wrong statement.
Okay.
Now coming to the issue that you raised about state of the art. This is a requirement which has been identified over the last 16 years. Now, the numbers have been spelled out. Yes, Air Force is conscious of the fact that there is a budgeting constraints. Within the budgeting constraint, it must meet its requirement. But the question about not having MMRCA because it's expensive, I'm sorry, it is unacceptable.
I don't think anybody is talking about not having it.
I think the point was made earlier.
Anyway, Mr. Stobdan, offsets, according to Air Marshal Kag, has been settled 30%, 50%. But one of the important things was about where does HAL stand in all these things? Do you think HAL will have something to do with it, or are we thinking of some private manufacturers coming into play?
Well, I do not know. I think most of the panelists there were discussing the internal intricacies in the MOD, the procurements and the chief's view and other things. I really cannot comment on those things. But what I understand is this was a political decision. This was a political decision, and this is linked with the Make in India initiative of Prime Minister Modi.
Yes.
Now there is a problem at the diplomatic level, whether this is really a pricing issue, whether what Air Marshal Kak was saying, this is the offset problem. What I understand that we are asking for 50% offset clause.
Right.
Whether the French are agreeing to that, that is the matter of diplomatic negotiation. We really don't know, since we are not privy to what is happening on the ground, on the table. We cannot say, but now we are stuck. Since we have made a commitment, a political decision, the whole philosophy is to diversify. That is where the problem is coming. So we have committed here and there and all that thing. So with the French now, we have to deal with it. And French are very tough master, tough negotiator. It's not like, you can only say bye-bye with Russians or something else with someone else. But French are known to be a very tough negotiator. And I think this should be resolved. What I feel is that a little bit more diplomatic intervention would be needed, and that would be sorted out, I think, in the 2 to 3 days' time. 2 to 3
days' time. That's interesting. Ajay, would you agree with that? 2 to 3 days' time? Is that the kind of feeling you get when you're talking to people in the ministry and otherwise?
See, as I said earlier also, if we agree to pay the price, it can happen tomorrow. It could have happened yesterday. If we agree to pay the price. The French are not ready to climb down from a certain level. And that level is very high.
What about the offset clause? Has it been settled?
See, one thing I'd like to clarify, when we were looking at the 126 MMRCA also, the first 36 planes were in the following pattern. The first 18 in a flyaway condition, the next 18 in completely knockdown kit condition. They were to be assembled in India, not made in India. The following planes would be made in India with a kind of French agreement with one of the Indian companies, probably HAL. But looking at it now, in hindsight, if we agree to the price, it could have happened today. The price is the biggest factor at the moment.
Mohan, is that the biggest factor?
It is the only factor.
It is the only factor.
It's the only factor. Otherwise, it's a perfectly good plane.
And as all of you seem to be agreeing, we are stuck with this and we can't go back on this. There's no question of going back.
There are other issues involved also. Why did the 126 not happen?
Why did it not happen?
It didn't happen because Dassault, which is a privately held company, owned by the Dassault family, didn't want HAL as the aggregator.
HAL.
Because the working capital requirements for 126 planes is far beyond Dassault's financial capacity. So it needed an Indian partner who can bring in more money.
Right.
Actually, HAL would not have done that, and HAL would have bought piece by piece.
Government would have had to bring in that money.
So, it didn't happen there. So Dassault kept insisting on a private aggregator, and there were private companies ready for that. That didn't happen. Dassault said, we won't do it with HAL. So you got stuck there. So you got down to this 36 then. Because the costs now are so huge. You're talking about, when this thing started, 126 planes at $12 billion. And it became 126 planes at $20 billion. Now you're coming down, last year when Prime Minister went to Paris, it was 36 planes for $7 billion. Now Holland yesterday says 36 planes for $9 billion. So where is it going to stop?
Hey, Marshal, is that the problem?
Yeah, well,
are these numbers, these are the numbers?
No,
which
numbers were somewhere there. We need to first understand in the business of procurement of aircraft, the moment you talk about offsets, aircraft become more expensive. For the simple reason...
They are transferring the technology. They'll exact a price for that.
Exact a price. But generally, Manohar Parrikar has gone on record to say that it's about 14 to 15% we pay more for offsets. Now, in this case, obviously, if we are talking about 7 billion in April and 9 now. That means we are talking about the 14 to 15 billion percent or more perhaps. The question is far more in terms of expenses of aircraft, combat aircraft, especially from the Western sources, have increased hugely. And they're constantly on the increase. Defense inflation is always much higher than normal inflation. But the question essentially remains that if we are talking about offsets, we will have to be prepared to pay higher price. If we do not want offsets, if we do not want establishment of facilities here to manufacture subsystems and components, then we can go with at a lower price.
Offsets make sense.
Last one is the question about, assemblies of MiG-21s, MiG-27. You see, what Make in India means you're taking a leap of technology in moving from purely assembling technology of production
Absolutely.
to technology of development, design, that stuff. That is a higher end trajectory.
Okay.
And that comes to you in this kind of an arrangement.
Okay, yes, I'll come to you, Mohan.
See, I have a point on the offsets. If we are learning something new, please go for the offsets. Are they going to teach us how to make an engine? Probably no. Are they going to tell us the metallurgy? Probably no. So what are they
They're
telling
going to tell us how to screw the...
If they are telling us something new, please pay extra. Because we already know a lot of part of it, we already know about it. The Sukhoi has been assembled here, parts of are made here. So what are the French going to teach us? If it's new, please pay for it.
And if you're buying
What?
36 outright, made in France for India, then what are the technology you're going to transfer? You already bought it.
Yes.
So, you don't need, you're not going to make that plane again here. So, this
And
whole
they are going to come in flyaway
offsets-
condition.
Offsets on a completely built up plane is a ridiculous notion. That means they will give technology for something else,
No, what
that may be
happens-
quantified, may not be quantified.
No,
It has
but
never
the-
happened.
No, but
Offsets have, even the C-130 offsets have not materialized.
No, Mohan, the today's MOU, today's agreement which has been signed, it says, apart from, the two leaders welcome the conclusion of the intergovernmental, they call it conclusion of the intergovernmental agreement on the acquisition of 36 Rafale fighter jets for aircraft in flyaway condition, except for some financial issues relating to the IGA, which they agreed must be resolved as soon as possible.
Financial issues leading to the IGA. So that means you have to do those financial issues before you come to the IGA.
Relating to the IGA.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
before that, the paragraph before that says that, to enter into arrangements for co-development and co-production of defense equipment in India, including transfer of know-how and technologies. Now,
That's what I
this
was saying,
defense
that-
equipment includes this?
Exactly. What I'm trying to say, it's not question of assembly. You then come to components and subsystems from raw material stage. For Rafales, which may be bought by some other countries where you will do this here.
No, but
So there
Mohan
is
has a
not
point.
that-
But Mohan has a point when this whole offset business, when we are getting actually those 36, aircrafts in fully built condition, in flyaway condition, then where is the question of offsets?
It would have been much more in the case of the 126 aircraft.
Anyway,
That was the original
I think we have
plans.
run out of time, but this is an interesting discussion. Where it is going, it's still there is a lot of confusion, and that all the members on the panel seem to be not sure about what this whole deal is about. And in fact, the deal is just an MOU. We'll have to wait and watch when the actual deal, if at all, is signed. When the commercial aspect of it is finalized, we'll wait for it. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue of the big picture same time tomorrow.